ignore what is happening, and you don't learn from the lessons of the past, you will suffer. Well, we didn't want to put any of our own, certainly in terms of the thematic material, we didn't want to put any of our own baggage. I mean, we had no interest in putting our messages into this movie, but we thought that we should honour Tolkien by putting his messages into it.
Tyrannous reformation of the earth, our place. That is really why he hated machines. Of course, it's perfectly true. He hated the internal combustion engine for perfectly good practical reasons. I mean, noise, congestion, destruction of cities, and many people greatly agree with him now. Into a secondary world that may not be very much more pleasant, but it's anyway very different. And there are terrors as well as beauties in the secondary world. And why should what he offered, if it is escape, not be the escape of the prisoner, which in other contexts is regarded as a very noble thing to try to do, to get away?
There is no such thing as a natural death. Nothing that happens to man is ever natural, since his presence calls the whole world into question. All men must die, but for every man his death is an accident, and even if he knows it and consents to it, an unjustifiable violation.
Absolute good from which most people do fall.
It's said, for instance, there's no religion in the book. There isn't, for reasons which are partly aesthetic, partly auctorial, and partly the history. This book, so-called Lord of the Rings, comes at the end of a long series of stories I've created in which the situation would be explained. Why there were no, for instance, churches, rituals, and temples, and so on.
Yes, but sure, to read into the book a kind of allegory of the H-bomb. What is said somewhere in the book is that the One Ring is a power so enormous that even if a good man were to use it against a bad, it would corrupt the good man.
But that is a thing which other people have arrived, other views, other people arrived at long before the H-bomb was invented. Yeah. Also, I may say that I began building the stories in which the Dark Lord when I was an undergraduate. They were already in an advanced stage during the First War. The H-bomb hadn't been heard of.
If you were to be remembered as the man who has made the Lord of the Rings, would you rather be remembered as a man who has said something or as a man who has made something?
I don't think you can distinguish. The made thing, unless it says something, won't be remembered.
Thank you.
Day is ended, dim my eyes, but journey long before me lies. Farewell, friends, I hear the call, the ships beside the stony wall. Foam is white and waves are gray, beyond the sunset leads my way. Foam is salt, the wind is free, I hear the rising of the sea. Farewell, friends, the sails are set, the wind is east, the moorings fret. Shadows long before me lie, beneath the ever-bending sky. But islands lie behind the sun, that I shall raise ere all is done. Lands there are, to west of west, where night is quiet and sleep is rest. Guided by the lonely star, beyond the utmost harbor bar, I'll find the havens fair and free, and the beaches of the starlit sea. Ship, my ship, I seek the west, and the fields and mountains ever blessed. Farewell to Middle Earth at last, I see the star above your mast.
Well, hey, welcome back to the final episode of this Lord of the Rings book club. Nerdporial, thank you. That was a great intro. Except for that one thing that happened kind of at the beginning. I feel like I had like an aneurysm for like a second. Like I just kind of like something.
You have to
something
understand.
hurt. There's
You
pain.
have to.
There's pain there.
You have to understand the context. I mean, exactly what Peter Jackson said. You know, if you don't look to the past, you know, we're fucked basically. And I swore. So
And we're demonetized.
And there
All
we
right,
go.
Good. All right. Sweet. Hey, no issues
Didn't
from
take
here
long.
on.
I didn't do it.
Oh man. But seriously, thanks for making that intro. Thanks for making all the intros. Honestly, the intro kind of template that you put together for us with the music, the score, accompaniment, the idea that you had behind doing it for us was awesome. And it's been nice kind of going through it every time. That's been great. I see here just briefly here because he was maybe going to join us. Hi, King Feanor. Looks like he's in the chat, saying that he's going to be listening in today. I understood that you had some stuff come up with work, something like that. If it does clear up and we're still on, you're able to join us. Like, absolutely, the link will still be good. Just hop in. We'd be happy to have your take on this as well. Otherwise, this will just be the Fellowship of the Five, and I think we can do enough damage that way. I think we're dangerous enough. What do you guys think?
You've had me on this whole time.
I gave him freaking top billing. Jeez.
I know, man. After that great intro.
Yeah, you saw Guy Ladriel and said, nope.
That's true. That actually makes sense. That tracks.
I have to tell you, a reason why I put that in is I looked at that. I looked at that footage, and I'm just as horrified as I was when I first saw that. Like, who thought that was a good idea? Like, putting that in, that looks terrible. I mean, just from an aesthetic point of view, it looks awful.
It's the one time her facial expression changes in the entire show. Is her like smiling like Brian looks. Like, smile first, Brian. It's like,
yep,
it's remarkably similar.
You put a horse,
and he just freeze frames his face exactly there. So
put a horse between her legs, and she was all right at that point.
Is now the time to make the Catherine the Great joke of Russia, or is that
we're leaving the jokes aside.
Okay.
Let's see. You know, we haven't done this in a while. It's early in the morning, and I'm drinking like any respectable person. I have myself some 12-year sherry finished scotch. Anyone else drinking along with me?
Yeah, I am drinking. I just finished my Four Roses bourbon, so I need to get some more bourbon.
Yeah, I've got some Cooper's Craft 100.
Ooh,
yeah, it is mighty good.
Drinking some 100 early in the morning, that's respectable right there. That's why you have a beard and hat.
That's how I start. The lower proof stuff I like, but I really like the 100 plus.
Yeah, I mean it's good. It's good for you. And Dane, you say we're alcoholics. We're just training. We have Wheel of Prime season 2 coming out. Like, you gotta get yourself in shape, brother.
We are 6 weeks out.
This is
start doing some sit-ups, chug.
I got some stuff that's not safe for work, by the way. Look at this.
Ooh, that's looking fresh. That's looking real fresh.
And
damn fine stuff.
Although, hey, this is the wrong stream for that. This is the one non-Wheel of Time.
This right here.
They are looking good though.
And this, but I already showed this, so
that one's sharp.
I haven't even opened this one.
I almost bought one of those that was on sale for Prime Day or something like that, right? The versions. But it turned out, I think Dane, you pointed this out. I had already kind of looked it up. They were basically just selling it for the regular price and saying that it was on sale, which is, classic marketing. So
in a lot of instances, yeah, that's
yep.
exactly what Prime Day is.
Anyway,
Prime Suckers Day.
Wait, Amazon is this terrible company that does bad things? Wait, what? When has anyone on this channel said something like that?
I just want the record to reflect that we are a pro-organized labor show in this instance. If the labor wants to fight back against Amazon such that we never see certain products. Stick it to the man, boys.
That is true. I went on
Fight
record
the good fight.
and said that, hey, we stand with the members of the Writers Guild, the Screen Actors Guild. Fight the power. Take as long as you need to get what you deserve. That's
I had to read that tweet twice to understand it. So I was like, is Pitts a traitor now? Not that.
Speaking of tweets, did you tweet this stream out there, Alex?
I did.
Oh, you did. You got it. All right. Nathan, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. Got up this morning, roasted a whole bunch of coffee, read some other things, got excited about talking about the favorite book of mine with the favorite ending of all time. I can't get better.
Dane?
It's still earlier where I'm at. Otherwise, I'd be getting drunk with you guys. But
are you trying to turn respectable on us, Dane?
I thought I would do that out of respect for the finale here.
Okay.
Tell me if it works.
I feel like Tolkien, he probably respected a man who could have a sip now and again. That's
It's 11 in the morning.
That tastes like respect for Tolkien. Alex, how are you, Alex?
I'm doing well. We got up early, hit the farmers market, got some good stuff. So feeling good. Very Hobbit Garden-esque at the moment.
My Hobbit garden had a dead possum in it with multiple vultures fighting over it in aerial combat this morning. So
I might even say that's aptly symbolic for this chapter. You got out, things were really going to shit. But you came in, you straightened it out, and everything's good now.
I took a little box of dust. I just kind of sprinkled it everywhere, just kind of willy-nilly, just sort of,
got rid of those possum bits.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. That's an extended V nerdporial. How are you? I know you're on the sauce over there. Is Drunkporial already around, or is that later in the episode?
Why? Because I'm smiling. You think you can catch a sighting? Well, you're wrong. I'm doing fine. I don't think I've ever drank in this early in the morning, so I guess I'm becoming a less good person as a result.
Hey, Slanjava.
All right.
Hang out for the White Cloaks for one year, and you're already fucking day drinking.
That's yes. We are degenerates. I'm willing to admit it. Along with us, fellow degenerates, we have Trip, we got Lady B, we got Matt showing up. He's got more lore than probably the panel combined here.
Mm-hmm.
Feanor, hopefully he's able to listen in. Hopefully he's able to join us if he does get the chance.
Private chat.
Oh, he sent us something. All right, let's see. Oh, bam! Hey, you know what? He apparently joined. I'm gonna bring him up. He says he's got a couple minutes. Bam! Hey, you with us, brother?
Didn't let him in quick enough. He walked away.
Bueller.
We can hear you, man.
I'm gonna leave him there, and he can join if you want. And yes, I called us the royal we degenerates. And yeah, you've hung out with us long enough. You're a degenerate too. Don't try to fight it. But hey, among us degenerates here, right? Like we're getting into a pretty the opposite of degeneracy when we talk about these chapters, right? Well, I mean, there are some degens from Oak Country, maybe if you want to go that way, but it all gets sorted out in the end, right? Nathan, you said this is like your favorite ending of the book, so maybe just start us out on many meetings.
Oh man! All right. Yeah. Well, you mean many partings? Many partings, you mean? Because many meetings was 2 books ago.
That is true. I like that he went back to the sort of the naming convention. I liked it.
There's
Yeah.
a lot. There's a lot of things that he kind of went back to, that I noticed myself. So yeah.
No, it's just this is right here where we see truly the end of the fellowship as a whole. You just end up with all the goodbyes packed up into this chapter, with everybody making the hike up to Edoras to bury King Theoden. And at that point, we say goodbye to Eomer. We have the announcement of Faramir and Eowyn's union. We see Treebeard as they go up to Orthanc. We find out Saruman has left.
He split.
Yep, he said peace. And at that point, Gimli and Legolas, after having gone to the caves over at Helm's Deep, they then make their way into Fangorn to do their tour of duty there. And then from there, they're going to go off into their own countries to do what they need to do. And to find more about them, just read the appendices to find out how freaking awesome that story ends up. And then as they travel up further northward, Lady Galadriel departs. Aragorn ends up heading back down to Minas Tirith, and it's just the hobbits and Gandalf making their way up to Rivendell, and that's just the high level of it. But it's fantastic. Lots of well-earned goodbyes. It's just wrapping things up nicely in a bow. You're being given happy endings really for a lot of the characters.
Yep. Always important to say goodbye to the homies.
I actually really like how so part of the reason why Lord of the Rings has got such a good ending, and I think of all the gripes with the films, I think the most legitimate one is that it didn't include this ending. But I like what Tolkien's doing as far as it's kind of parallel to the beginning. So you started out the story with only the 4 hobbits, and there's a big chunk at the end of the story which is only the 4 hobbits. So it kind of makes sense that the Fellowship came together about midway through the first book, and about midway through the ending here, you're back down to the hobbits, and it's the return, the hero's journey of coming back home. So,
yep. And you use that right. And one of the things that I always find very interesting about this, with the hero's journeys, when you study the hero's journey, there's always the long section of the end called the return. Yeah. And it's like, a third to a quarter of the hero's journey cycle. And in modern literature, it's just, and then they killed the bad guy and went home and everybody was happy. Whereas, when you look at things like, the Odyssey is basically all about the journey home. Older stuff like this, that getting home takes time. Like, it's not, you snap your fingers and you're done. So in a way, I think this harkens back to the classics far more so than anything we read currently.
Yeah, I like it when books and stories do this, shows do this, especially when you have a major event like, Alex, you just said, bad guy, the real major, existential threat has been neutralized. Everything has gone the way that they wanted to. And this is an issue I have with especially the Harry Potter books. After, I like to see the consequences of what happened, how everybody, all the surviving characters are affected by, the losses and everything. Because I don't know if you guys remember Harry Potter, they kill Voldemort in the Battle of Hogwarts. And then they have this one epilogue that's 19 years later. I'm like, what the hell is this? And that's how they try to do it. The 19 years thing was fine, but you needed to have something that followed directly up, like at least a few chapters.
Good that you bring that up, because Nathan said this was like his favorite epilogue to a book. I think that the Harry Potter epilogue is an example of like one of the worst ways to do an epilogue. and
then you see the movie, and then you see the Deathly Hallows movie, and it's just it looked even worse on film.
Yeah, because it was a bad idea, and so then it was bad in execution, right? Like a bad plan leads to bad execution. Sometimes you can have a good plan lead to bad execution, but a bad plan can't have a good execution.
Well,
Yes,
and let's
so-
let's face it. With that movie, with Deathly Hallows Parts 1 and 2, those were a poor adaptation of that book.
Fair.
Which was a poor book, but
yeah, that's hey,
And we're back to
I
the
like
original discussion.
We're
I
here
like
talking about
I like
this,
the early ones at least.
Let's
I don't know.
not fight about.
sorry,
you
that was my bad. I shouldn't have thrown that in there.
Let's not fight
Harry-
about
Harry- Harry
that
Potter-
weird book.
Oh God, are we
Harry
gonna do a
Potter is
Harry
good
Potter
for what
book
it
stream?
is.
Is that next? Is it really, Pips?
No.
No.
You're gonna make us fucking read
All right, let's
that?
talk about this comment from Matt. Dane, I'm fully confident that I would not be able to make you to read Harry Potter.
I like the third book.
That was a good one. I like the third one too.
All right, let's talk about Matt's comment here. I think it's a good one.
Okay.
He said it emulates Tolkien's experience after the war, where all the people he met as a soldier in the campaigns went all their separate ways, resumed their own paths. I think we've talked a lot about how Tolkien's life and experience, especially about and through the war, impacted these books, and I think that Matt is right on point there. I think that anybody who's experienced kind of the not the mustering of the Rohirrim, but like the demustering, like that ends up being exactly what this story is. Where like there's a lot of bittersweet kind of things where you had these really strong bonds and friendships, and then there are people that like you'll never see again, and you'll never see them again. They know that you'll never see. Like that's a hard thing to go through.
It was, and I mean that's life. I mean, I've had lots of friends over the years, and we've all went our separate ways as we got older and everything. Some friends got married, some moved away. That's life. And the thing that really hit me, and I think it might have been in this chapter, was Tolkien in a single sentence said the entire fellowship never got back together, like had a reunion or everything. That was the last that they were all there together. And to me, that was a very bittersweet thing. So people still hung out. People, Legolas, Gimli, some of the hobbits, they still kind of hung out, on their own time, but it was bitter. It was a bittersweet thing to read that single sentence. That just tells you how crazy depth, like a single sentence of Tolkien is compared to, any other writer, in my opinion.
Yeah. The one thing that I didn't like about this section was this makes me like Treebeard less. Treebeard is apparently a shit-lived soft-on-crime district attorney who went soft and let the prisoner out of jail only for him to immediately recommit. Like, fuck off, Treebeard.
Got that George Soros money.
Oh, I know.
Right.
The opinions of the panel do represent the opinions of the panel.
Right. Well, Frodo sort of does that too in Scouring of the Shire as well.
He does.
I mean, he's like, don't hurt anyone, don't kill anybody. And Pippin and Merry are like, yeah, we're gonna kill. We're gonna kill.
So
we've been in battle. We know how it is.
Can I just throw out again that I think the sort of Tolkien kind of perspective here, right, is that like no one is so, it's the no man may walk so long in the shadow that he cannot again return to the light, right? Like Tolkien was very much of the opinion that that people could be redeemed. And Frodo kind of, we'll get to this later. Frodo like explicitly says this message, right? That, hey, this is a good person, better than anyone else here who fell. And because he was so good, he fell so far. But like, I wish that he will find a way to be redeemed, and we have to give him that opportunity. And I feel like that is, it wouldn't have been Tolkien, I think, if it wasn't played that way,
Agreed.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very Christian. I mean, it's a very Christian thing. We had this talk on my Great Hunt stream talking about Ingtar. So I mean, forgiveness, I believe, should be available for anybody who seeks it. But the thing is, it's hard for people to seek it, and it's even harder for people to forgive. I mean, according to C.S. Lewis. So,
which we'll definitely get into that with good old Sharky later, right?
I think
I didn't even realize
we're glossing over the best part of this chapter. Well, that's where Éomer and Gimli had a simp-off competition.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right.
Arwen.
That's right.
Yeah,
like that's the culmination. That's what I wanted to read. I was like, "Hey, Éomer, what do you think about Galadriel?" He's like, "You're wrong, Gimli." He's like, "Bucking, let's throw down." He's like, "Let me tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah,
I just saw this chick Arwen," and then he's like,
I mean, you're right to say that this is important, and Tolkien agreed with you because he put it on page 2 of the chapter. And in typical Tolkien, he's like, no, like this one's hotter, like no, this one's hotter. And then Gimli's like, all right, you've chosen the evening, I chose the morning. Hey,
I thought that was a great one right there. That's one thing I wish that they included in the movie. I'll be honest, reading this, I feel like Éomer was done dirty in the movies. Like he was the only thing I really recall him from was the opening, the initial scene where the Rohirrim congregate around Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn, and they didn't include that part about Galadriel, which leads to Gimli saying, you tell me your name, Sword, and I'll tell you mine. And so, and eventually, Legolas, Gimli, and Éomer are they're like the Three Musketeers going to Helm's Deep, and Éomer wasn't even part of Helm's Deep, and we barely see him in Return of the King in the Pelennor Fields battle. So
you can say that they did him dirty, but I think we discussed this already in the films. But they give Éomer the role of rescuing Helm's Deep. Right, so Gandalf went off to go find Éomer.
Yeah, but but it was Gandalf who was front and center. I mean, it was Shadowfax that we see him.
Éomer is the second guy who comes.
I'll agree with you to a point that Éomer doesn't get his own kind of emotional arc in the story in the shows. Whereas in the books, he gets more of an emotionally fulfilled kind of arc, right? But the movie, he's a good character, but he is kind of a minor character in the grand scheme of things. I still think that among the characters at that level in the book, I'm still going to say that Faramir got done the dirtiest. Right,
well,
I would agree with that. Éomer is one of those characters that was just subject to the requirements of what was needed in the movie, and it's not great, that he got sacrificed for that. But I understand him more than I do some of the other things.
Yeah,
he should have had, at least in my opinion, he should have at least had one moment where he shined, like in the Two Towers, book 3. When Merry and Pippin are running, it was Éomer that slain the lead orc, and it was the orc. I don't know, for some reason I read that, I was like, this is epic. Like I wish that was in the movie, like seeing Éomer in a one-on-one duel with an orc, with the orc leader Ugluk, I believe, and he slain him. I thought that would have been a great thing to see. Just give Karl Urban, now that I think about it, I think Karl Urban was slightly wasted.
Karl Urban was the anti-Galadriel in that every time Karl Urban was on screen, his physical presence was felt and was electric. Him in Return of the King, when they do the Pelennor Fields charge, where he's just doing the with the spear in his hand, it was like, all right, let's fucking go.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did this movie come out before Dread, or I think?
Right? Way before Dread.
So I feel like that charge scene, he's got the helmet on and he's doing the charge, and somebody in a movie sort of studio was like, noted. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be honest. After reading the battles and all that, I actually prefer. I mean, I don't think the battles are bad in the books, but I actually like the way they were done in the movies more. At least the Helm's Deep, and maybe Pelennor Fields. I know there was a lot of great stuff in the Pelennor Fields chapter,
but
you just don't like the fortress. But
it's a terrible fortress. But the movie made that stupid hill that they charged down. That's really the worst part. Matt, I think, is making a point here. So Gimli, I think between all of them, I think Gimli was done dirtier than a lot of the other
Gimli,
ones as well. But
Gimli was like Worf in Picard season 3. He was practically a walking, joke at points. Yeah.
Well, all right. Let's get back to the books a little bit here.
That's a hot take.
Yeah, exactly. We always
I think that's okay.
Too harsh.
That was a poor.
You are allowed to have your hot takes, Brian.
I hear Nerdporial veering off into Star Trek, and we need to head it off at the pass. We need to stop it quick because it's gonna veer out, and pretty soon we're gonna be talking about Picard season 3.
I know.
Nip that in the bud, dude. Nip that in the bud.
He's giving it all he's got.
He already forced us to look at Guy Ladriel. We can't do Picard season 3, guys. It's too much.
Fair.
Okay. What did you guys think about the meeting with Bilbo and like all that? Because I think that's really kind of the emotional, climax of this chapter, right? Is the quest returns. They meet Bilbo again. They have those kind of conversations.
Yeah, especially in the movie has this too, where Bilbo asks about the ring.
Yeah,
Bilbo's like, "Do you by any chance have that ring?" And Frodo's like, "No, I got rid of it."
I love it. He says, "I lost it." Like, oh man, like that is such a great scene. Like you're just feeling for the guy who's like talking to his old senile, essentially father, right? And like, yeah.
Yeah, and it just once again really brings up the point that even though you don't have the ring on you, and even though the ring is pretty much dead, it's destroyed, its effect will remain with you for the rest of your life. And I mean, that's basically where the story is ultimately going. And for somehow every time the reason why I made that intro way I did was because I rewatched that part and I just got so emotional again. No matter how many times I see that, the Grey Havens, I no dry eyes on me.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned for the outro for this video then.
I can't wait.
I was a big fan of kind of what you guys are talking about, the highlight of the fact that the ring is still kind of with Frodo, the fact that we revisit, I think it's in this chapter, right? We revisit for the first time the 1-year anniversary of the stabbing from Weathertop, right?
Yep.
And so it's already laying the seeds for what we know is going to kind of happen later, right?
Well, Arwen also gives up the Evenstar or the gem or whatever to Frodo.
Yeah.
And gives him her place on the ship. So that
right, which
that's
is interesting.
Also kind of foreshadowing it or leading up to it.
That was kind of an interesting thing to me when she does that, because I don't think she had to do that in order for Frodo to go. Because
no, she did that because she knew, because he was a ring bearer and all that he was gonna suffer. And so every time he had an episode of pain, he grasped onto that. She said, "Keep this close."
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And I thought that was interesting that she knew that. So I always thought it was more of when I watched the movies and initially read it, I thought it was more of a PTSD type of situation where at points he gets PTSD episodes. But according to the book, it seems to be more of it's more of a magical, type of deal, elvish type of deal instead. Or
yeah, we've talked before. I think that the stuff that we saw from the Battle of Pelennor Fields, I think, was more the example of PTSD sort of stuff. I think the ring is so PTSD, I think, is a psychological wound, right? I think the ring is a spiritual wound, and I think that it makes sense when you think about and Matt, you in the chat, you can tell me, or Feanor is around, you guys can chime in. My understanding here of the cosmology of Lord of the Rings and Tolkien's kind of Middle Earth, a spiritual wound only being able to be healed by going to Valinor, that makes sense to me, right? Because there's, what is it, the Halls of the Dead or something like that, which is where elves go when I I forget the name of the Valar Mandelbras, something.
The Hall of
something like that.
Mandos, where
Mandos,
they go
thank
when
you.
they die. Yeah.
So like that is kind of already there in Valinor, whereas mortals don't go there, right? And so the idea that like the ring bearer is something, you know, between those two places of a mortal kind of soul. I don't know. It made sense to me.
Okay, Feanor is saying that he did need the ticket to go to the Undying Lands.
So then, how does Sam go without?
Yeah,
a
how does
ticket?
Sam go?
He was a ring bearer.
But apparently
Right,
the ring bearer needs a ticket.
but which elf sacrificed their spot for Sam? It would be the counter to that, though.
Did Legolas dip out?
Nope, he did not.
There you go. I think this is a decent answer.
And Gimli went. And Gimli went too.
Yep.
Oh, did he? So did they all go?
Yeah,
Everyone
Gimli
except Aragorn.
Gimli and Aragorn doesn't go.
Aragorn, Merry, and Pippin.
Yep, because they're all
they all
buried together.
Yeah.
But Gimli wasn't even a ring bearer and goes.
Yep.
So I don't think that it necessarily Arwen's gift to him buys him the spot. I think he would have been able to go anyway. But I like your point though about the peace and comfort that her gift does bring him while he's.
Gimli might have had special access though. Like you can't simp that hard and not have like a spiritual connection across the sea. So like he was just so
he got
laser focused.
He presents her hair like a scan card to get in the door.
fucking magical bus pass.
That
new
explains
canon. That is new canon. He was going across the sea there, and like tickets please, and he just kind of like did a little like put the.
remember guys, the sea is always right.
Oh shit. Get out of here. All right.
If you do that again, I'm going to start looking down and just be like, see.
Would that make you sink?
Yeah,
Nate,
exactly.
Do you have your copy of the book handy there? I feel like you've been reading our Road Goes Ever On and On each time here. Do you want to read from the second to last page of this chapter? This is the changed verse.
Yeah. The road goes ever on and on, out from the door where it began. Now far ahead the road is gone, let others follow it who can. Let them a journey new begin, but I at last with weary feet will turn towards the lighted inn, my evening rest and sleep to meet.
Yeah.
Freaking awesome.
All right. Let's move on to the next chapter. That was it.
Yeah. So whoever says the poetry is to be skipped, fuck off.
I'm telling you, BookTube is full of people that say that. It's ridiculous.
Yes,
that's so wild. Like you know what I love about literature? All the parts that aren't literature. You just skip all those literature parts.
You mean prose? You mean skip all the prose parts?
I mean, I love Lord of the Rings, but man, I can't read it.
Yeah, you can tell where these people are in literature and not like accounting. Like, you could never pull off like this table on the tax form is really boring, so we're just going to skip it and move on to the next part.
No, that's Congress.
That is true. That is true. That is how we know that these people are useless people. They're just like this super important part over here, but I don't know, not really my cup of tea. So next chapter, right? the engineer building a bridge, and he's like, "Who needs bolts?" Oh man! All right, Homeward Bound. So
kind of surprised there wasn't a couple talking dogs in this one,
or Paul Simon singing something.
There's just a talking horse in this Homeward Bound. So we got chapter 7 here. Takes up with them having left Rivendell, and they're with Gandalf. They start out right, and they're going through, and they're just everything is so good. And they arrive at Bree, having sort of hurried past Weathertop thanks to Frodo, who's just like, nah, man, not feeling that Weathertop.
Yeah.
You know, another sign that he is still, you know, very much scarred by it.
Yeah, I thought this was very interesting here because he tells, you know, Gandalf like that he still feels, you know, the pain and all that. And he asks like, you know, it's been a long burden. Where shall I find rest? And Gandalf cannot answer that. And that's, I believe, once again, sets up, you know, the end of the book pretty interestingly. Like,
yeah,
I got a little emotional just reading this right here. So, sorry.
So they get to Bree. They hang out with the prancing pony, and they you know, find some news about the Shire a little bit, some stuff going on around Bree, and
they kept trying to hint to Butterbur who the king was, who this new king was, and like Sam's like, idiot, it's Strider, dude, it's Strider.
Yep.
Oh, Strider.
Yeah,
I remember him.
We also get some more of Tolkien being based as fuck here. He's like, oh, you know those bad guys outside that keep robbing us? No, they won't mess with you. You guys have weapons with you. And then we also have gee, ever since the Rangers for the North, aka the police, dipped out, we sure have had a lot of crime around here.
And they start creating a border.
Right.
Is it relevant? Don't answer that.
The views of the Nerdporial do not represent the views of. I don't know. I think that there's some good stuff. I mean, Bill shows back up. We have to talk about Bill.
Clearly,
one of the best characters from the series. I mean, Shadowfax, obviously, but Bill's close second. He's up there.
Where's Fatty? Where's Fatty place?
Oh, he goes up later.
He's top 3. So they hear about stuff. Gandalf did not make good on his promise about old Butterbur.
Yeah, he was supposed to like give him like a good scolding for forgetting to send that letter or something to Frodo, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
I thought it was supposed to be a little more violent than that. I thought he basically threatened, like, I'm gonna friggin' like burn you. like Gandalf got pretty scary, sort of, you know, white wizard going.
Oh, I think skin him alive was the etymology.
Was it that, or turn him into something unnatural? Something like that.
Either way, he was very nice.
He probably said that in the heat of the moment. And let's keep in mind here, he's Gandalf the White now.
What is
Gandalf the Gray?
What is the saying about? What is the common mentality? The saying about people about wizards, like never like mess with a wizard's affairs or something. I forget how they put it. You guys remember?
Do not meddle in the affairs of wizards.
So they get very.
There's a couple of renditions. And
I can say there's lots of good wizards quotes. I like the one from the very first book with the elves still sort of inside the borders of the Shire, right? Where it says, "Don't ask wizards for." Or no, I guess actually that was about the wise, right? Never ask the wise a question because they'll tell you both yes and no.
That was the elves.
That was the elves that did that. That was
the elves in on the journey to Bree.
Do not meddle in the affairs of wizards, for they are subtle and quick to anger.
That's it.
But you can tell Gandalf's in a good mood. Dude is buzzing.
I mean, I got white robes now. My job's done.
I mean,
I'm gonna go hang out with Tom Bombadil and smoke that sweet ass weed that he's got.
because there's no like, weren't they out of weed or something? Like like there was like like Saruman was like hoarding all the weed and everything.
Yeah.
Well,
and that's just general. That's just general operation of totalitarian rule. Is whenever that happens, then
we'll get into the Shire's situation.
Disappears.
I do feel like the significance of that was lost on us because, you know, guys, all the tobacco is gone. Like, you know, think about how much, like, you know, people who try and quit smoking are addicted to that stuff. Imagine if all the cigarettes in the United States disappeared tomorrow. Well, the number of murders that would happen, of people just driven mad by, you know, but
Yep.
going into a cigarette withdrawal would be wild. And that, that's what Fatty Bulger is talking to. He said 5 people died. That's actually what did him in.
Yeah.
People
trying to get
Fatty
involved in the black
Bulger.
market.
I don't think Fatty Bulger's in this one, is he?
Yeah. No, he's in,
not
he's
Homeward
in,
Bound, but in Scouring.
He comes later.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's no longer fatty. He's no longer fatty
Exactly.
because
He's
they
no-
throw him
no
away.
fattigus,
They throw away
right?
the key for him.
He's Diet Bulger.
he's the diet Bulger. Only 1 calorie, not Bulger enough.
He's Bulger Zero.
We're terrible.
So they find out that there's going to be some gates on the Shire, and Gandalf and Shadowfax go peace out in the Barrow Downs to go, like I said, find Tom Bombadil and that sweet ganja.
Yeah, and Gandalf. Not only that, but there was something Gandalf said to them that really resonated. It was he's like, you guys are. I mean, you guys have changed. I mean, you guys are adults now, and I can't be around to solve all your problems for you. So because he was aware of of the whole scouring and of Saruman potentially being the culprit. But he's like, you guys have to deal with this on your own. I can't do this anymore. My time here is done. The Third Age is over. I'm free of you fucks. So I'm gonna fucking smoke weed with Tom Bombadil and then I'm gonna leave.
Wow.
But but narratively, like that's the purpose of this chapter, I think. So you had many partings where you lose most of the fellowship. But remember, Gandalf was with the hobbits
From the
before the wider fellowship. So kind of doing everything in reverse, Gandalf has to be the last one to leave the hobbits. And
yes,
so you get a short little chapter here where it's mostly about exactly that, Gandalf leaving, the reasons why, and still progressing kind of on the journey home. So
Right.
Yeah.
And to really kind of put an exclamation point on where the dependency has really transitioned to.
Yeah.
It is no longer necessary for him to do anything because the abilities to be able to handle problems are now back on, the hobbits can do this. They've gone through it enough, and they've grown enough in their own confidence to be able to sit there and put down all that's necessary, and it pays off.
Well, speaking of what's necessary, you guys ready to move on to the scouring of the Shire?
Let's do it.
Anybody else hearing that feedback?
I am. I think it's Nathan.
It could be me.
Nathan's got like a 1990s cell phone or something like that like every time he gets a text message, it just like really goes to town on stuff. You guys remember when you were back in school and you had your like CD deck, and if you like, if the phone rang, the speakers would start going weird.
I didn't have a cell phone when I was in school.
Well, my phone's was right underneath the mic, and I got a text, so I think that might have been it. It's now over there.
The scouring of the Shire. Trip says the best part of the entire series. I mean,
it was funny.
A bunch of hobbits die, so like, I mean, Trip, like, tell us how you really feel.
That's exactly what.
It was funny. Like this chapter was hilarious. Like they're like, you're under arrest, and the hobbits are like, they just start laughing, and they're like, okay, fine, sure. It's like, I'm gonna go back to.
There are some funny parts of it for sure, but I think I mean, okay, all right, guys. So Tolkien says, I don't do allegory.
Liar.
Yeah.
Liar.
Yeah.
This chapter to me has a lot of allegory. Nathan already said some of it about like, kind of collectivization, right? And like what that ends up being. We have the takers and the givers, but they mostly take and don't much give.
Yeah, that's why you don't. Yeah, where'd all the weed go, or where'd all the tobacco go?
Yeah, thank you for switching that back to tobacco. It has nothing to do with weed. That shit drives me nuts. That's like my biggest pet peeve of all this shit. Like
the
weed.
People who just think that all the hobbits are high all the time, like you.
Yeah.
If they're fucking Cheech and Chong, yes, it's Cringe
Yeah.
as fuck. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
It is
I
annoying.
mean, it's humorous, but like the people who think that it's more than just humorous and actually like, no, that's what Tolkien meant.
Right.
Like, no, that's not what Tolkien meant.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
read.
like,
What is it?
This is what Tolkien meant.
What is the first kind of intro to Fellowship? Is it Concerning Hobbits? Read Concerning Hobbits, and then tell me you think that they're just high AF the whole time.
You're right.
Like,
Yeah, it does say pipeweed, but that's again the degradation of language that occurs in all societies.
yeah.
It just ruins it.
All right, let's talk about the Scouring of the Shire, though. So it starts out, they show up and like, yep, there's a gate on the bridge at the Brandywine, right? Which used to not be there. There's actually 2 gates, and they start noticing that there's like a shanty little building next to it, and there's this whole thing, and they bang on the gate and they get admittance, right? And there's a grubby looking kind of man who's there that we happen to recognize. I like that this is where he is. He's not, he's not later. He's not in Bywater. He's not on, Bag End. He's just all the way here at the outskirts. Just Bill Ferny.
Yeah,
Still the same piece of shit.
So, if I remember correctly, Bill Ferny was the dude that was in Bree, right?
In Bree.
Earlier in Fellowship. So it seems like all those episodes.
He was the suspicious guy, and I think he informed the on the hobbits to the Black Riders or whatnot. He seemed like he was a bad dude. And then they got the pony, and they named him Bill. And then you get a great pony full circle story arc where Bill Ferny runs away and Bill the pony clips him nicely.
Yeah, well, and we kind of skipped over it from the last chapter where they were sitting there wondering if the apple had actually killed Bill Ferny.
That was great. That was great.
That was good. Sam, you might have killed the guy.
And
Sam needed to talk to you, Sam. Like, you should probably lay low for a while.
I thought that too.
It's an apple chambered in 7.62.
Right. Sam's like, I don't think we were that lucky. Like, that was your reaction, Sam? Not like, man, I hope not. Like, I mean, that was the goal, but I don't think I succeeded. Like, Sam's a fucking cold motherfucker. Like,
so Matt, I think here that Bill was one of the locals in Bree, but he was consorting with the queer folk up the Greenway, right? The people who had come up the Greenway, the south, the sort of Southerners who had come up from Eisen and other various places.
Your
it seemed like he was
orcs, I
consorting
believe.
with them. And then there was the sort of implication that he had maybe informed on them with the riders. We don't really know if maybe he was just talking with the Southerners and they were talking with the riders. Like, we don't know exactly how direct his involvement was, but he was definitely a
Sauron friend.
yeah, I mean, liberal suburban housewife ally. Like, easily the most annoying of the.
Bill
of the
Ferny
various
was the
friends.
original Karen. He was.
Yes.
But what I do like is that Bill the pony survived, right? Because that's another thing. We've got to remember where they lost Bill the pony. Like, they didn't take him in the Mines of Moria. They had the Watcher around there. There was orcs and wargs and all the rest.
Survived the Watcher and the wolves and the wargs and all of it. Yeah, Bill the pony is.
And the journey back.
And in the film,
that was a hell of a journey to go all the way back to Bree.
Exactly. We're talking
I'd
about
I'd like to think that Elrond took really good care of Bill in Rivendell. Like, he was basically like a celebrity guest for a couple weeks, and then was like, "All right, guys, I gotta get back to Bree."
Okay. Bill Ferny here
all I'm saying is, with Bill the pony, it's comforting that basically something that Aragorn said, like, don't worry, he'll be all right, and then it kind of comes true. They kept that part in the film, but because they don't do the whole return the way they did, I think the film just kind of jettisons Bill the Pony, and you honestly don't know what happens.
That was one of the the little fan bits that didn't pay off.
Have we talked about how in Wheel of Time, basically Robert Jordan looked at it and went, if we switched the power dynamics of the magical systems, that's somewhat similar to my world, and then he just took Bill and made it Bella. Like he switched Bill's gender too for his world building.
I feel like Bella is a much bigger character than Bill. Like Bill, like I mean,
think you can't compare.
Yeah, I mean, like it's, I don't know. I guess your point is like, yeah, there's a named pony with a B name, but like Bella survives the story throughout the entire thing. Like there's never a part where Bella's not in the story. You know what I mean?
And Bella changes ownership or the rider of Bella changes several times throughout the whole series. But
I mean, I think you're potentially correct that Bella and Bill, maybe in the early part of the story, I think up to Baerlon, the stories are they definitely are making a very strong nod to Lord of the Rings, which also makes a difference with Bill, because Bill was in the Shire, or in the Wheel of Time sort of version of it, right? But I do like Egwene as a hobbit. So, I'm willing to actually kind of go on with this. That
I actually reading Tolkien now and getting a better sense of what everything's about. People who say that Eye of the World is a Tolkien clone are like, they're out to lunch. It's not. It's
yes.
You just haven't read enough fantasy.
So
exactly.
I think I argued with Trip about that. I posted on it. I tweeted about it in the Discord. Like, yeah, it's so frustrating. People who make that comparison. It's like this fantasy is fantasy, and you're like, yes, like Tolkien is so like archetypal modern fantasy at this point that like you can't write modern fantasy without heavily nodding to, acknowledging, borrowing from, or like obviously inverting Tolkien, right? So there's Tolkien is in every piece of modern fantasy, I think.
Yeah, just the idea of the alternate world that Christopher Tolkien says.
And it's I think it's the beginning that grabs those comparisons where it's just you got to leave. You're leaving your home. You're going on a dangerous travel. I mean, and it does break, obviously.
But that's not Tolkien. That's Gilgamesh, for crying out loud. Like if you're the hero's journey, like that shows up in freaking everything. Fair. So you can't say, oh, it's a Tolkien clone. Like, and anyway, I just have one last point about the horses. I think if Jordan is taking liberties from anyone or inspiration for what he does with horses, it's from Tolstoy. Because in War and Peace, horses are basically named characters too. So I think there's a lot more of Tolstoy and that in Wheel of Time, big, long, spanning epics and yada yada.
I heard the original name for that book was War. What is it good for?
No.
All right, I'm going to mute Nerdporial for a while here. And we're going to talk about the Scouring of the Shire. Okay.
Brian, do you yearn?
Always.
I yearn. Okay, sorry.
So the Scouring of the Shire, right after Bill Ferny, we get like all of the crazy rules. We get the sheriffs, which like. Yes, the sheriffs are like the Cabbage Patch Guild. It's hilarious.
I like how they spell sheriff with an I instead of an E.
Ah, that's a good point. Yeah, sheriff. That's interesting.
They're in the Shire.
They closed down all of the bars. This I was personally affronted.
The inns. All the inns are closed too.
Yeah, I'm sure shutting down all of the bars in magical Ireland/Wales is going to go over great, boys. Like
it was
outstanding thinking.
It was real upsetting. They took away all the beer. They shut down all the bars. It's just awful. I'm still emotionally damaged. Triggered. I'm triggered. And we hear about this mysterious the big boss, which we think is Lotho,
Chief.
right? Chief. And we hear about Sharky, and we go through sort of the Battle of Bywater, and we're seeing over and over again the hobbits. They use the horn of the Rohirrim to like muster the hobbits, and the hobbits are all like, yeah, we're done with this stuff. They join up, they push the men out, and they sort of get to the business of restoring the Shire, which this chapter I think ends before the whole conversation about like 1420, which was fun. Like the whole like, oh, that was proper 1420.
Yeah.
So what do you guys have about the Scouring the Shire up to, I guess, this chapter really ends, I think, with the death of Sharky, right? Like,
Yeah.
So what do you guys have?
It's just the bravado of we've been through the worst and we can handle this stuff. I think the Sam and stuff when he meets up at the Cottons, and he goes and he checks on Mrs. Cotton and Rosie, and then she's like, "You better come back. You were late in coming back anyway." And he's like, "Oh."
This chapter really shows you more than any other chapter. Well, maybe except maybe the ending. But this chapter really shows you how much these characters have changed over the course of this book. Like they were simple hobbits in the beginning, but then after all the experiences they went through, like this is piece of cake for them. And like it's just like there was no, I read this, there was no indication of tension right there. Like they had this, they had this under control. Like they stepped up. They knew how to step up to take leadership and just managed to settle this thing. And it was not just anyone. It was Saruman. Even though Saruman was depowered by Gandalf, he still had his intellect. He still had his cunning and his manipulation tactics.
Well, right. It's also like humans were brought into the Shire, right? There's like a gang of ruffians that were let in. Like we were saying, the Dunedain went south, and therefore your police are gone, and they're just doing all the trouble. But it does two things. So I think there's a lot of war stories that basically also include the part where the soldier returns home and everything has changed on them. Is one thing.
I mean, it's sort of the Iliad,
yeah.
Or I'm sorry, the Odyssey, rather. Yeah, Odysseus gets home, there's a bunch of dudes living in his house, and he's like,
They kind of take out the trash.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, so Tolkien does a good job at like explaining what happened and the evil that's going on, but it really seems like all that the hobbits needed to take care of this on their own was a little bit of leadership, which is what Merry Pippin, Frodo, and Sam provide. And that's an interesting thing too, where it's just like everybody in the Shire hated what's going on. They hated Sharky. They hated the boss, the chief, and the brigands. And it's like the easiest thing in the world for them to like call once, bring everybody in, rally around, bring your weapons.
Merry had the horn. Merry had the horn. That's how he summoned everybody. That was awesome. Yeah. Like that paid off.
Kind of the silence of good men kind of idea, right?
Yeah.
But
you mean
I want to say
you mean bad things happen when good men do nothing?
Sort of, yeah. But before going into Nathan talking about all of the allegory that the non-allegorical Tolkien wrote into this chapter, I just want to say there are some great parts that like literal laugh out loud kind of lines from this section that I want to kind of highlight, because I think there's some great humor in Tolkien's writing. I don't know, anyone who thinks that Tolkien is not like funny, I think that you need to probably stop saying that you're not reading any of the poetry or songs, like you're a bad person, and then B, just read the actual books. But I like when they got arrested here. The dialogue there is fantastic. So it's This is what it is, Mr. Baggins, said the leader of the sheriffs, a two-feather hobbit. You're arrested for gate breaking and tearing up the rules and assaulting gatekeepers and trespassing and sleeping in Shire buildings without leave and bribing guards with food. And what else? Said Frodo. That'll do to go on with, the sheriff leader said. I can add some more if you'd like it, said Sam. Calling your chief names, wishing to punch his pimply face, and thinking you sheriffs look like a lot of tomfools.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Like
That was
this
fighting word, Sam. Jesus.
I mean, it's just so good. Like there's so much stuff here where it's just like a joy to read, and it's interesting. We've talked before about how Tolkien weaves the different tones in the story, right? So like this chapter is about the destruction and really, I mean, almost desecration of the Shire when you think of like what the Shire represented to Tolkien.
Yep.
And it's woven in with this kind of levity, this humor, you know, the good-natured hobbits, right?
Yeah, Saruman got that industrialization going in the Shire, and like it was the shit was getting into the rivers and all that. Like that was clearly, I mean, you could see that a mile away. And trying to think what else was, the whole cutting the trees thing, which was in Sam's viewing of the Mirror of Galadriel. I didn't realize it, but that was referring to this. I thought it was like a like the way the movies I believe if I remember correctly, the movies made like a possible future where everybody gets, you know, conquered. But no, it was just it was a real future where he sees the trees being cut down, and that was like Sam's ultimate horror. And so I loved how that resolved itself with Galadriel giving him the soil, I believe.
Yep.
So you think Tolkien got back from
here? Matt had one other comment here. I was just going to say Matt's comment here I think is worth noting before we get too much farther here. The soldiers coming home, the changes that they sort of started to make, and actually, I mean, you see this kind of across the world, right? You saw this in the U.S. with kind of the start of civil rights movements and things like that, with soldiers from World War I, World War II, especially World War II. But you know, the same thing in England there with the soldiers coming home and feeling this, you know, this need to kind of put things right, that like, you know, you who have sacrificed so much for your country realize how much that country is maybe worth, and the requirement to make it live up to those expectations.
Yeah. You think Tolkien maybe didn't really like what he found when he got back to England and he saw all the war factories pumping out basically everything? Like
only a little bit.
Yeah, I think he might have. Yeah. I can imagine him writing that and being like, all right, this book is almost done, then getting back and being like, all right, boys, we're going to have to add a couple chapters here.
Now, we can't forget the ultimate insult, you cock robin.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Nathan, now is the time. Let's talk about the allegory of Tolkien in The Scouring of the Shire.
Yeah, well, what I mentioned earlier, like how everything just disappears, and because you've got totalitarian rule. Whenever singular leaders take control in terms of trying to consolidate power unto themselves, this is what happens. It happens everywhere. It occurs. There's nothing good that comes from a human singularity rule.
Wait a second. So, I think we're not giving old Sharky enough credit here, because he obviously did this whole scouring of the Shire out of concern for the Hobbit's health. Like, why else would he smoking and drinking?
Yeah.
And why did he disarmed all of them too? Or I think he tried to. So it's like,
but I think
take away your alcohol.
They didn't. I mean,
but that all started with Lotho, the chief.
Yep.
That now obviously I think that there was a connection between Lotho and Sharky before Sharky got there, but Lotho was definitely the foothills of all of that activity.
I forgot how.
I think you guys are just being bigoted. I mean, this sounds like an awesome political regime, right? not only is there concern for public health like you've never seen before, as well as limiting weaponry. There's vast investment in infrastructure going on too.
I mean, Saruman might have gotten if he stayed long enough, he would have gotten those trains running on time, and everything. I mean, the automobile would have been a thing in Middle Earth had the hobbits not interfered with.
Now for our audience, for our audience, we do have to understand that the two speaking right now are a Chicagoan and a Canadian.
Yes. Yeah. But no, they had a collectivist economy going for like 6 months, and it didn't even make it 6 months.
So can I ask you guys a question here? Have any of you encountered the idea that this is actually a criticism of capitalism, not collectivization?
What?
No one would be that drugged up to make that argument.
No. Well, if you read here, there's the Hobbit who he owned a bunch of stuff in the South, and he came up and he bought up the mill and he did this, that, and the other thing, right? And there's this weird argument that is made the Scouring in the Shire was late stage capitalism.
What?
I'm sure there are people that have made that argument, and they are clearly unintelligent.
I can see it being an argument against industrialization, which one might argue, I suppose, is the natural end point of capitalism. But this is one of those situations. If the message here is clearly capitalism is better than collectivism, it's just he'd prefer neither. He'd prefer to live as a hobbit in 1867 for the rest of his life.
Having said it, there is a strain of thought that actually thinks capitalism trends towards monopoly and state rule, and that's usually done by people who don't understand economics, which is obviously the people who advocate for collectivist policies in the first place. But no,
that's it right there.
This is their view of what capitalism does, right? Because their introduction to economics is playing the Monopoly board game and nothing else. And they don't understand how monopolies actually require state authority and thuggery and breaking the law and whatnot in order to maintain said businesses. So that this is not Elon Musk showing up and taking over the Shire. This is someone who basically gets jackboot thugs and doesn't necessarily just dominate economically; they dominate politically. So it is collectivism.
All right. Well, so I'm glad that we're all in agreement here that this isn't
even the Canadian.
This isn't an allegory about capitalism. Tolkien would probably say it's not an allegory about anything, but it definitely has. Has some things that make you think about the risks of collectivization, right? I think the takers and the givers, or the takers, it was takers and givers, right? Or was it takers and sharers?
But now to make a statement on that, Tolkien was amazing to be able to sit there and write something non-allegorical that anybody can sit there and read it and take it for what they will. He knew very well, and that anybody can do that. And the intro, that interview kind of called that out. He didn't write allegorically. There were things in there that he put that were just natural consequence of step one leads to this and step two leads to this, and these things just naturally occur as a part of any process. The allegory, we could, like you were saying, it's the natural end of capitalism is this. It's like, okay, you can go ahead and read into that, but
well, great. That's the starting point of communism. So,
right. But that's that's the wonderful thing about this story, is that it's not written allegorically. You can read and see a lot of things in there from your own personal perspective, and that's all well and good. But he disliked allegory because he wanted the story to be present.
So I actually like the way that you kind of sum that up, that he wrote a story that appeals to fundamental truths and things that are relatable, and therefore the audience can read his books and come up with allegory, right, can come up with things that you see and observe in the real world and are applying to what he wrote.
Well, it's
But
what that guy said about the
do-
H-bomb, but Tolkien was
Yeah.
100% right to be like, I started writing this way back in the like before there even was a hydrogen bomb. So
Yeah.
whatever you're, but what's more mind-boggling to me is that the guy isn't basically saying, oh, this is the Ring of Gyges, because it literally is the Ring of Gyges from Plato.
Glaucon.
No, the Ring of Gyges is a myth that you wear it and it turns invisible, and what will it do is it'll corrupt the king.
I thought that was the Ring of Glaucon. Now I'm gonna have to look it up. All right.
Oh, come on, nerds.
Don't worry about it.
I never even
saying
heard of
what
these
you're-
rings.
Keep
Ring of
saying what you're gonna
Glaucon.
say.
There we
Ring
go.
of Gyges is
There's
a
our Princess
hypothetical
Bride
magical
reference.
ring mentioned by Plato in Book 2 of the Republic. It grants the owner the power to become invisible as
All
well.
right, yeah.
Through the device of the ring, blah 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 blah. Whether a
I
rational,
don't know where I
has-
got the Ring of Glaucon from then. So
Glaucon is in the story. Glaucon ends up, I believe, wearing the ring. So you're both
Oh.
technically right.
Okay, the best kind of
the
right.
best kind.
Yep.
This wouldn't be a White Cloak stream if it wasn't that we could argue about the same thing.
So this is
No,
from.
all-
I've never
all
read
I'm saying is
I've never
why-
read Republic. So this is from Republic. Interesting. I'll have to
All
read.
right, we're
this.
gonna have to kick Nerdporial from the stream.
15 minutes ago.
Insufficient nerdery.
Fucking Chicago public school system. Just fucking worthless.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Next, I'm going to tell you about the cave, and you're going to be like, "What's the cave?"
From Empire Strikes Back, that cave. That's
Oh,
where
shut
the
up.
original.
I'm gonna have to kick Nerdporial.
Kick him out. Fucking hell.
Man, who
Oh,
invited
man.
that guy?
I invited myself.
Exactly.
All right, where were we? The Shire. We got.
Yes.
So we got the Battle of
allegory.
Bywater, right? The Battle of Bywater. Let's pick back up there. Other than the hobbits being kind of badass, I mean, I don't know. Do you guys have anything really to kind of throw out into this?
I just love how confident they are. It's just like, all right, let's just raise hell. Everybody's going to come out. They do. They know they have them outnumbered. They lure the folks down at night into a trap with Farmer Cotton kind of being their spokesman, and then they say, "Surprise! You're surrounded." And they capture. Well, they have to kill one of them, and then they capture the rest, and then they execute the exact same plan second time. Although that turns into a bit of a battle, and 19 poor hobbits die. But it
bodies
happens
were
really
dropping
quick. But yeah.
Well, I think this is, one of the reasons that I love this series, and I love books written by veterans. And it's actually really bad on the British front, but we have a plan. We're going to execute a plan. Our plan is going to be swift, violent, and it's going to set the tone. Whereas in every other book, and I'm reading frickin' Brandon Sanderson right now, who can fuck off with this garbage. He has never had a character make a definitive action in his life. But, it's okay. We have a problem. Let's go solve the goddamn problem rather than waiting around until the problem gets to the point where, there's nothing you can do anymore. So I fucking love this. Take definitive, strong action. Anybody writing, make your characters take strong, definitive action.
Right. That is part of the definition of a true hero, not someone who just kind of waffles about and then lucks into the end consequence.
Yeah. Less or more Conan the Barbarian, less Harry Potter.
Well, to that point, then, I mean, Frodo is not the hero of the Scouring of the Shire.
No.
Nope.
No, it's Merry and Pippin. They're the ones kind of taking the lead. It's awesome.
Yeah,
and Sam to some extent as well, yeah. But
Sam's kind of going off doing his he's got to set himself
He's
up.
taking
with his-
definitive action of
true
going
enough.
and marrying Rosie Cotton. Merry and Pippin are like, we're gonna go deal with this stuff, and he's like, sweet, I'm gonna go get laid.
Frodo's role in this is more of like the moral position of, okay, you can make the effort, but don't go beyond what's necessary. And I think Frodo plays that part of it, where the rest of the other three could have gone, hey, you know what? We're going to just kick all your asses. And Frodo's like, listen, so he plays that buffer to the violent extreme, I think.
Yeah, it was interesting.
But clearly the heroes are the other three.
I mean, yeah, it was interesting hearing him say, I think hobbits, I don't think ever killed other hobbits. Kind of like, and I've heard that.
That was an interesting line for sure.
Yeah, and it doesn't change, I don't think, because
no murder in the Shire apparently.
Mm-hmm.
No,
and the other fun thing too is let's not forget Merry and Pippin are big fucking hobbits now, right?
Yeah,
big
boys.
Because they drank the Entwash or something. Is that what it was?
So they're. But one of them became a squire of Rohan, and the other is basically a soldier of the
Gondor.
Gondor Tower, yeah.
Yeah, so they both experienced battle. They both experienced, Pippin experienced the siege in Gondor, and Merry experienced the actual Pelennor Fields battle.
Think about it in like
helped kill
context, right?
that Witch King.
So imagine they were human. They went out in the world. They joined army of giants. They got a little bit giant themselves, and they come back home, and they're fucking 7.5 feet tall, with like all the best equipment that they just got, and then they're like, "All right, we're gonna fix this thing right here." It's a great moment.
And then I think it further pays off. I mean, especially in the later chapters, like Merry and Pippin are practically celebrities. They're the ones, they're the celebrities, and Frodo and Sam are not.
Well, yeah, they're the Jack Reacher of hobbits. It's like. But also, you mentioned
end the stream there, guys. End the stream there. That was it. That's
yeah. But also, Frodo is the Clint Eastwood of hobbits. He wanders into town. The corrupt, sheriff comes after him and like, you're under arrest for the following 7 charges, and he just kind of looks at him steely-eyed, like, am I really?
Right. I did like the line there where they're like, "Who's arrested who?" Was a fantastic line as well. Classic.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get too much farther here, so Feanor brought up this thing about there's still one evil ring that exists in Middle Earth that no one can destroy. I'm gonna admit here. So it's been a long time since I've read the Silmarillion. I've never read a lot of the kind of extra books that have been published. So I'm not sure that I know what he's referring to. Another evil ring that still exists.
Would it be one of the rings of men or dwarves that was corrupted?
Well, in my mind, then, there would be a lot of those. And also all of those should have lost their power, just like the elven rings, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the dwarves were either swallowed up by dragons or consumed in other ways. I can't remember exactly the lore behind it.
There's at least an allegation that Sauron possessed at least one of them because he tried to bribe the dwarves from the Lonely Mountain by offering to give them one, right?
Yeah. But that would have been destroyed with the destruction of Mordor, and all the rings of men were assimilated. But
the ring is Arda itself. Okay.
Dork. I don't even know what that means.
It's the world.
Maybe the world. Maybe the world has rings like Saturn.
Feanor is saying the real ring is the friends we met along the way.
Halo.
And maybe Sauron was the original Red Eye of Arda, and then they killed him, and the Red Eye's gone. Like the Red Eye of Jupiter, where the Borg hang out in Picard season 3. Sorry.
No, we talked about this. Man,
I can't get over that.
Bad Nurpoil.
It's like not even 1:30, dude.
It's 2:30.
Yeah, not where he is.
All right.
It's 1:30.
What else do you guys want to talk about with this? Because otherwise, obviously, we got to talk about the death of Sharky, right? Well, the reveal of Sharky and then the death of Sharky, right?
Yep.
I mean, it plays out the same it plays out not the same. I apologize. Very similarly in the movie. So I recognized what they were doing in the movie. The only difference was in the movie, Wormtongue stabs Saruman in the back, whereas in the book he gets his throat slit. But it was just totally different situations. Like we find out what happens to Lotho, and I was like, holy shit. Like I was like, where was this guy? And they said, oh, it's Big Grizzly right there.
Yeah.
Wormtongue basically murdered Lotho, and he on Sharky's orders, and Sharky, tells everybody that he's bad because Frodo's like, Frodo's basically telling Wormtongue like, you don't follow this guy, go your own way, find your own redemption. And he's like, no, this guy can't find any redemption. And then he says that, and he's like, you told me to kill him. And then he gets pissed off and kills him, and then they shoot Wormtongue. Wormtongue's dead. Felt kind of bad. I was hoping Wormtongue would get some, redemption.
Fuck that, dude.
Well, even the worst people, I think, can change. I mean, that's kind of why I saw kind of maybe it's because of Chicago in me. That's probably what it is. The city guy in me.
So you're watching The Wire. You tell me, was this a justified shoot?
The Western District way was definitely applied.
I mean, they took it. It's not like if it was one of the other hobbits, maybe it was Saruman.
I mean their shoot of Wormtongue.
Not
he's on a stabbing spree. All three of the hobbits shoot him, drop him. Were they justified? Are they going to get brought up on charges?
No.
I mean, they're not going to get brought up on charges.
Literally cut the guy's throat.
That's because lax enforcement. But I just want to say, so I had originally said that I think that it was important to Tolkien's kind of worldview that that Saruman was given a second chance, right? So with that in mind, and I still feel like that's correct, right? I still feel like Frodo's kind of insight there is the author kind of speaking. What do you guys think that means in the story with Sharky or Saruman's death? What do you make of the description of how he died?
You mean to the dismay of those who stood by about the body of Saruman, a grey mist gathered, and rising slowly to a great height like smoke from a fire. As a pale shrouded figure it loomed over the hill. For a moment it wavered, looking to the west, but out of the west came a cold wind, and it bent away, and with a sigh dissolved into nothing.
Yeah.
It's a very poetic ending for him.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that Saruman's a tragic figure, but at the same time, like, he's a fallen figure, and maybe he gets a chance at redemption, but I don't think he's ever going to climb the heights that he had before, right? He could reform himself, but they're not going to like, hey, here's your wizard powers back kind of stuff. He's done.
Yeah, and I think that
it's an ignominious end, which is somewhat fitting. But at the same time, maybe what's chilling about it is you can understand why he didn't choose to redeem.
Yeah. There's an element where justice does come into play, and justice has to be exercised in order for wrongs to be appeased.
But it's not Frodo meting out justice here. I think that's key. It's the wind
Correct.
from the west.
Right.
He's looking to the west. He's looking to the Undying, and they reject him, and then he dissipates into nothing. So it's also very
Yeah, you and I are on the same page on that one. Absolutely. I mean, the actions of Wormtongue sitting there killing him that's one thing. I mean, there's a physical justice, and there's that gets executed here, and then there's that spiritual justice that he's done. It's gone.
Yep. This even plays into a little bit what we talked about in the last session with the orcs turning on each other, that evil will always turn on evil and evil will consume evil. So there's a little bit of that going on. There's a little bit of spiritual rejection. There's a little bit of good old-fashioned Christian guilt and forgiveness. A lot to unpack with this one, especially for a guy that allegedly doesn't believe in allegory.
One thing that Saruman says that kind of speaks volumes here. I think he said, "I did all this to hurt you." I think I think that's what it comes down to. I did this all to hurt you. And I think Frodo, I loved how Frodo responded. I'm looking
One
for the
ill
quote.
turn
He's
deserves
like,
another, right?
like the Frodo like literally says, well, your little payoff is nothing but a memory, or your sweetness is nothing. I forget how he puts it. I'm trying to look for it. I can't find it. It's somewhere here. But he basically calls Saruman's like little lust for like vengeance or something, just like a very temporary, very, like he called it a memory. I'm trying to remember where it was. I thought it was a really good quote.
Yeah. I will go and I will trouble you no more, but do not expect me to wish you health and long life. You will have neither. But that is not my doing. I just merely foretell. Not exactly what you had called there, but his hatred for everything, for the effort of all that is good, is unsatiated. Even when it's all done and there's an opportunity for redemption, he can't make the choice towards that redemption. It is absolutely impossible for him.
Yeah.
Yep. And Trip is right. Saruman is the schoolyard bully. And, he lost all of his powers, and, he basically didn't have anything left. So he thought, I will go pick on the lowest of the low, the weakest people in Middle-earth, the hobbits. And unfortunately for Saruman, the weakest people in Middle-earth stood up for themselves and punched him in the nose back.
Yeah. All right. Do we have more to talk about with this chapter, or do we want to move on to the Grey Havens?
Did we talk about? Yeah, we did. We already talked about. Revenge does. Revenge begets. Does not. Beget. Revenge doesn't beget revenge. It doesn't lead to anything good. Did we talk about that, or we kind of did? So.
We haven't. Message. We haven't kind of read his line. If that's what you're saying, did you want to just kind of read that section?
Yeah.
Trip, I think Trip in her last comment has it for you, if that's the one you wanted to read.
But I will not have him. Do not believe him. He has lost all power, save his voice that can still daunt you and deceive you if you let it. But I will not have him slain. It is useless to meet revenge with revenge, because it heals absolutely nothing. Okay, I add the absolutely. Go, Saruman, by the sea of Beast way. They're trying to get rid of. They're trying to basically have him go on his own way and everything. And once again, I thought that was a very powerful thing. That, like you said, it was part of Tolkien's worldview and everything.
I think Trip highlighted the other line that I was thinking of, which Fram's saying, Frodo saying, "Do not kill him even now, for he has not hurt me. And in any case, I do not wish him to be slain if in this evil mood. He was great once, of a noble kind that we should not dare to raise our hands against. He has fallen, and his cure is beyond us. But I would still spare him in the hope that he may find it." Is definitely, that I think is. I mean, that's a lot of kind of Tolkien's view that there's some kind of straight old school Catholicism in there. Judge not lest ye be judged. Kind of sort of.
I mean, it's pretty much universally Christian. It's not just Catholic. Yeah. I mean, it's. Yeah. I mean, if you want to say Catholic, then you have to bring in the Virgin Mary, then you got to bring in all this other technical stuff.
Because Tolkien was a Catholic. So when I say, Catholicism, I'm just acknowledging that was, he was Catholic, and therefore, that's his kind of view. But yeah, I think that Frodo, again, I said this before, I think Frodo in the end of this chapter is the author speaking, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that.
Hey, we got Magitech Mags showing up here for the end of the stream. All right, the Grey Havens. So this chapter spans the rejuvenation of the Shire.
It all starts with Fatty Bulger.
Yep.
He's not fat anymore. Rescue him out. Yep. Turns out he should have gone with them on the whole journey. Probably the Mount Doom attack would have come out for the better. But hopefully, I know it's not mentioned, but getting him back to a healthy weight was probably also one of the main goals of 1420.
He did run away from those ring wraiths and sounded the alarm in that one chapter, which I'm surprised they didn't put in the movie. That would have been an awesome. Either that, or if they ever make a TV series, that'd be an awesome way to open an episode.
Don't even go there.
Yeah, and there's that. There's that paragraph of Lobelia.
Yes,
and it's a little bit of a redemption for her.
I like that.
It was just it's a very touching paragraph that she immediately gives back Bag End, but she was touched by everybody supporting her for her rebuke in the prior chapter of the new powers in Hobbiton, and it was just it is a touching little end to the woman who stole all the silverware at the end of The Hobbit.
Yeah, I it's funny, I forgot to bring up. We didn't talk about Pimple. Like Pimple's their son or something.
Lotho. Yeah.
Okay.
So he was the heir of Bag End, so the SBEs, and then kind of did the capitalist thing, right, and brought in all the communist thugs.
So so the reason why they threw her in the prison, so Lobelia was thrown into the prison because they were building shit. So once again, like this was this was Tolkien saying modern architecture sucks, or modern practices of buildings or buildings shit. Like he has nothing but like disdain for brick. Like he hates brick.
Right. Now imagine this is being written in 1940. Think about how beautiful 1940s architecture is. Can you imagine if this guy was walking down the street in 2023?
2023 less so. I think like certainly the 1960s and 70s with like brutalism, right? That architectural style of brutalism. Like that's what I always imagine, even though I know temporally it doesn't make any sense that didn't exist at the time that he was writing. But when you see like, the Washington DC has a bunch of this. There's a bunch of like, this type of architecture around the world of just like oppressively boxy and like just, very
Eastern Bloc, Soviet inspired communist bullshit block architecture.
Yep.
It needs to survive the nuclear war.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like if we were to drive Tolkien through some of these pod apartments that's popping up all over the place, he'd basically turn into Ted Kaczynski. Like,
well, we did say before that apparently in some of his letters, he, towards the end of his life was tilting towards anarchism. So maybe he got black pilled at some point. All right, Lobelia. Yeah.
But that was because of the buildings. She's like, who said you can build these? Is it like, what do you like? I got it right here. Where are you going? We're going to Bag End. What for? To put up some sheds for Sharky. Who said you could? Sharky. So get out of the road, you old hag. And then they throw her. Then they throw her into prison. And that's practically her redemption right there. She did something right. And then because of the fact that that Lotho got murdered, she couldn't live in that house anymore. And that's why they gave Bag End back to Frodo.
See, this always left me very conflicted because it sounds like Hobbiton has a very strict HOA. So, if you can't even put up a shed on your own property, I'm kind of with Saruman on this. Like,
see? Cut the smoking, cut the drinking, invest in infrastructure, and if you want to do something on your own property, you can.
Pretty much.
That's true. The hobbits were actually just a very aggressive HOA, and
we know they descended from Harfoots, right? So they're despicable creatures.
Yeah,
right. Basically cannibals.
No.
I wonder if the Shire had zoning laws.
Oh, strict ones.
They strike me as the sort of community that doesn't have zoning laws, but if you put up like a shitty shed, you'd wake up one day and find that it accidentally got burned down. Like,
oh man. I really want to say, like, okay, yep, there's the individual stories coming out, and we've talked through some of those, but like, I think obviously Sam's gift from Galadriel, Sam getting married, and ultimately having a daughter, Frodo's finishing of the book, and then Sam and Frodo taking a trip, right, is really what the rest of what happens here. So what do you guys have to say?
I mean, they closed out. I mean, we already talked about Lobelia, but they closed that out. She ended up passing away the following year and everything. So, but I thought it was I thought it was interesting having the whole thing with Sam going into this, like in the movie. Like they don't know about this until they don't know that Frodo's leaving until they're already at the Havens, and Frodo fails to tell them beforehand. In this case, Frodo tells Sam. He doesn't tell Merry and Pippin. Merry and Pippin, he tries to pull. What's funny is that the what was it, the conspiracy from earlier? Well, that pays off here, where like he didn't tell them, but still Merry and Pippin managed to find out and get there before him. I thought that was great, because I forgot about that. And they're like, "How'd you find out?" Well, Gandalf told us.
Gandalf, the old asshole.
I read just reading that part where Sam reacts to Frodo leaving and him crying, because he cries when Frodo tells him. It had the same effect as watching in the movies, except I think maybe a little bit less manipulative. But then again, that's the nature of movies. Yeah. In my opinion,
I think the Merry and Pippin thing is almost like a callback to the conspiracy, where Frodo's got some action going on in the background, and he's like, "Sweet, all right, I'm gonna pull this plan off. It's gonna be great." And then Merry and Pippin show up, and be like, "Thought you were slick." Caution.
I'll be honest. I don't know why they didn't go with that, and they decided to bump into them, and they stumble into the journey instead. They rob Farmer Maggot.
Yeah, part of it had to do. They really accelerated the timeline in the film, right? Yeah. From finding out this is the Ring of Power and then having to go, and whereas in the book it's like 17 years, so there's more time for them to figure it out. But also Frodo leaving the Shire takes months.
And the other thing that I was surprised to find out with is that I think both Merry and Pippin are really young. Like they're not even of age yet. Like they're they're like equivalent to teenagers. Like so Frodo's 50. I forget how old Sam is. I'm assuming Sam's much younger, but I think Merry and Pippin are even younger than Sam. Like Merry and Pippin are in their late 20s, which is like under like 33, I believe, is the equivalent to 18. Yeah. So they're like the equivalent. I think they're 7. They'd be the equivalent to 16 or 17 or something.
So I just looked it up just so that we have some frame of reference. At the beginning of the book, Frodo is 33, Sam is 21, Merry is 19, and Pippin is 11.
Oh.
So Pippin is 28 when they take off. So he's like the human equivalent of like a 16 or 17-year-old.
Oh. Yep. I always thought Merry and Pippin were the same age.
That's the movie.
Yeah, I continually forget that too. Continually.
But like Frodo's basically the old man, and it's weird is that they cast Elijah Wood, who was younger than all those other actors. was much younger than all those other actors. Like Pippin's supposed to be the youngest. Pippin's actor is the oldest of the hobbits in the movie. So it's weird.
The change in kind of making them all around the same age makes sense with the way the movie kind of compressed the timeline, all that stuff. It is what it is. We talked about it in that section. So I think Man, I really just kind of want to talk about the restoration of the Shire. I guess I said this before. Some proper 1420 stuff there. I like the way Tolkien describes the restoration of the Shire.
He gets a pretty good tree paragraph in there, I think, right? So he plants a special tree, and then the trees grow at the pace of 20 years.
Sandy Appleseed, just kind of going around.
Yeah, I mean the biggest
a little grain here.
Yeah, and I mean the thing going into this was like Sam was horrified because like it would have taken like generations for it to resume its former glory. All those getting those trees, but the once again lovely elves and their magical items was able to regrow the Shire. And so they basically, he had to choose all the parts that looked the most damaged. And I believe the tree is called a Malorn here. Yeah, it's called the Malorn.
Yeah.
Why is it called 1420? It sounds like a vintage.
That's the Shire year.
Yeah. So
that's the Shire year.
1420 was the year that this happened. And so, he does all that stuff. And then he goes through winter, and then spring of 1420 is when all of this starts to grow and blossom and grow and sort of flourish. And so, Shire year 1420 became sort of a byword for good and plentiful and bountiful and all that.
Marriages, tobacco, and drinking.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Sam got back, gets claimed as a hero, plants his seed, gets out of bed, goes and plants the trees and some more crops.
Classic.
What allegory could you be saying there, Alex?
She was a 1421 baby, though. She was a 1421 baby, though. So I don't know what Hobbit gestational periods are. We'll have to look that up.
Sam took a very appropriate and respectful courting period of Rosie is what happened. Okay, everybody. Sam's a good guy.
That's not a
traditional.
He's a proper Hobbit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'll have your back.
Yep. And Rosie's front. What?
Wait,
Yep.
what? Oh.
Wow.
All right.
I thought this was supposed to be a wholesome stream, Pips.
No, we got
you already got it
demonetized.
Yeah, I did. That's true. That's true. I'm projecting. I gotta get something to drink.
Yeah, that's what you need.
It's not even 2 o'clock there for crying out loud.
All right. I love that Galadriel recognizes her kind of handiwork. She's like, I see you put my gift to good use. And it's like, all right, so clearly that the Shire was chopped down friggin' 6 months ago. Where were you and your pointy-eared friends?
She saw it all happening in her mirror, so
yeah.
Anyway.
For her, it would be the same response that Gandalf had. That's not for me. You guys got to handle it.
But I mean,
let's just remember that
there. Sorry. And no. I think you might have been going this direction, so.
Well, it's again, we brought it up with the gifts and how Sam was the only one that got a gift for the future. And what's really great about this section here, coming towards the very end, you see the gift put to use, and that it basically revives the whole Shire. So he's able to burn it down, narratively speaking. Heroes come in and save it, and then they're able to rescue it, resuscitate it, and have 1420 basically be one of the best years that they all remember, coming off the heels of one of the very worst years. Very similar to probably how the post-war period was in England, both in the 20s and in the 40s. Anyways.
Well,
I was thinking Weimar Germany, actually. That was probably the worst situation at post-World War I, in my opinion. And that's what led to World War II.
Yeah, there's 20 years in between.
Yeah, that's true too.
Weimar situation was a bit fucked up. But anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, Matt, I don't even think they're going to be using those cloaks for that.
I feel like it was mentioned that the travelers
had them, but they aren't using them
would
to go
occasionally
sneak
be
around.
seen, in their gray cloaks, right? I like that Merry and Pippin like keep wearing armor throughout the Shire for like the rest of their lives.
It's all it's for hey we were in the we fought we
they're the 7.5 foot tall equivalents, right? They're
right.
basically like dudes came back semi-giant. They're just roaming around. They are the police.
It is.
Call
it
the
is
Brute
their-
Squad. I am the Brute Squad.
It's the they're proud of their achievements. They're proud of their status with Gondor and Rohan. They're absolutely all about showing that they have duties even external to the Shire.
Yeah,
which they still go and work on. Read the appendices.
Do we want to move on? What do we have to say about the book? The book being finished.
It's a great ending, but
yeah.
I had the good fortune of stumbling upon a lecture series by Tom Shippey, who started off 24 lectures, and he talked about Lord of the Rings because that's his main focus, his study and whatnot. That's what he's known for, being a Tolkien expert. But in his argument as to what made Lord of the Rings the success that it was, and it was the best-selling book of the 20th century and whatnot, we all know that. But the reason why is because Tolkien hit a nerve or hit the pulse of the situation, which is redefining the hero as just anybody, which really resonated with everyone post-World War II, post-World War I, because the wars prior to that, the conception of a hero was that they were an Übermensch, or they were a bigger character, larger than life. All the sagas, whether it's Odysseus or Beowulf or Gilgamesh, they were all kind of superhuman, superhero characters. And he did the opposite. And his main characters were not human. They had no special powers. It wasn't Gandalf's story. It was little tiny hobbits who had nothing special really about them. They weren't super strong. They weren't super quick.
And what's funny is the stuff that you said that doesn't make them special is what made them the best candidates for bearing the ring, because the ring feeds off of ambition.
It can be, but it's more when you look at a guy like Sam in the story picking up Frodo and having to do what it's gonna do, where he's like, "There's nothing else I can do, but I'm gonna try and fulfill my mission." That would have resonated with every single soldier in World War I and II, who had their task set before them. They don't know how they're going to get out of it, but there is something that they can go off and do, and it's that kind of personal heroism or everyman heroism that really came through as the focus and the center of Lord of the Rings. And it's one of the first real stories to actually do that and do it explicitly. And at least in Shippey's view, that's exactly why Lord of the Rings took off. People didn't know that this is the story that they wanted until it came to them, but that's the secret of the series' success.
Right, and with it culminating with Sam saying, "I'm back." It's that everyday person. They go and they do their responsibilities in war, and in the end, they come back and they still have their story to go for. And that's kind of what the purpose was for them, to go and achieve what they needed to achieve, because they still had to come home. They still had their families. They still had their livelihoods to be able to achieve. And that's the end goal of all of this, is that the continuance of their own stories and everybody else's around them. And what Frodo says to Sam before they go to the Grey Havens, when he tells him, "I'm leaving," in the end, he says, all these things to him about being mayor and keeping the Red Book and keep alive the memory of the age that is gone, so the people will remember the great danger, and so love their beloved land all the more. And that will keep you as busy and as happy as anyone can be, as long as your part in the story goes on. That is so freaking beautiful.
Yeah.
To sit there and say, it's beyond the story. What we're all working for is beyond the epic. It's what is after this that's important. And and that doesn't get told. It doesn't need to be told, because, well, hell, we're all living that day to day.
We got a super chat from the Nerdporial Lifeform, not to be confused with the Nerdporial.
I don't know who this asshole is.
Saying thanks for having me, you beautiful panel and Pips. That seems needlessly rude.
I love you, Pips.
Man, Nathan, I think you're right on with what you were talking about there. Unlike the Nerdporial, who I think was completely wrong. Man, Frodo trying to sneak out in a way, right? But Sam kind of figures it out, and Frodo comes clean, right? So like you said, Nerdporial, different from in the movies where he like kind of holds the secret to the end. And then Gandalf obviously told Merry and Pippin, which I think says an interesting thing, that Gandalf knew that Frodo wouldn't skip Sam.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So,
I mean, like obviously there was that I brought up that conversation that he had, like, will I ever get over this wound? And Gandalf couldn't answer him, and somehow like Arwen knew, like, kind of foresaw that he was going to go through that, so she gave him the what was it, what do they call that again,
the file, Arwen, the even
star,
give him the stone, yeah.
So yeah, so I figure, yeah, so like, and the thing was, Sam literally like got to the point, he's like, where are we going? Like, we're going somewhere, where are we going? And he's like, oh, we're going here because I'm leaving. So,
well, speaking of leaving, so we got a super chat from Matt here. All good things must come to an end, but the road goes ever on. And we get one more adapted kind of turning of this poem here towards the end of this, right? It says that Sam was following Frodo silently as they were kind of going along their path, right? And he hears Frodo singing softly to himself, singing the old walking song, which is this song, "The Road Goes Ever On and On," right? That we've heard multiple times, but the words were not quite the same. Still around the corner there may wait a new road or a secret gate, and though I oft have passed them by, a day will come at last when I shall take the hidden paths that run west of the moon, east of the sun. And then, of course, the elves answer, right? I mean, I think that this poem, we've used it as our intro throughout this whole series, which, Nathan, thank you again for reading that for us, and for Brian for putting that together. I feel like it really is kind of the tale of this story, right? The tale of Middle Earth is that it keeps kind of going on.
I mean, it matches with how the very last sentence of this, it's "I'm back," or is like, "I've come back," basically saying that Sam's story, despite all that, I mean, life goes on. Mm-hmm. Yep. No matter the loss, no matter the major event in your life, you're still alive. You still have, you still have something more to live for. In Sam's case, he's got family now.
Alex, I wanted to ask you, because I feel like you've mentioned this before, Círdan or Círdan. I feel like I've typically said Círdan, the shipwright. I think you pointed this out before. He's unique among elves, right?
Yep.
Nathan is giving it away. He's the only elf with a beard.
Yep.
Isn't he like? Isn't he like one of the oldest elves?
Yeah.
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 Because Círdan basically came across with Fëanor and the rest of them, right?
Yeah.
Círdan built the ships.
Yeah.
That
He-
there's a lot that happened there, but yes, there's a reason he's called Círdan the Shipwright.
Is he the only? Is he the only shipwright? That's why, like, you know, the elves are like really the only ones that can, you know, sail away from Middle Earth.
He's not the only shipwright. In fact, I believe he has a small army of apprentices that help him. But he's
okay, fair.
he did it the first time.
And was it the elves that helped, like, the Numenorians and the Westerness, get to Middle Earth from, you know, Numenor? They used the elf technology, the ship technology.
I think there's a TV show that we can see
that
explains this all.
So it's interesting.
He's always right.
So Viking Fëanor in the chat. Círdan was alive at the awakening of the elves, and in regards to the helping the elves, the elves tended to get in trouble with. The forces of evil themselves, and especially Sauron in the Second Age. And it tended to be the Numenorians that would sail over to the east, kick the shit out of Sauron, and then go home, rather than the elves helping the Numenorians, if that makes sense.
Until they triggered the volcano with the water. I'm sorry. I'm just going to end it.
It's an infection that started down here and it's working its way up here. We need to end this before it infects me.
All right. Well, we are at the end of the book here. I just want to say the description of Sam. So they changed it in the movie, and we'll see a little snip of that again here. They changed it from Sam kind of waiting until darkness and like looking out across the sea. It's it's in like daytime that the boat sails away and stuff like that, but they still leave Sam as like the last one to stop gazing out onto the sea, to stop trying to see the boat, right? And I think they did it justice there. I think this is a powerful scene. It
is. I mean, when I saw this in the theater, I mean, I didn't read the appendices and all this. The Undying Lands I thought was basically allegory for death. So Frodo leaving was kind of him dying in a way, or saying goodbye forever. So them waiting there like that. I don't know if you ever lost a parent or someone really close, but there's a point where you just kind of there's a point where where a person would freeze and kind of remain there and would just kind of be motionless, with processing, the event and whatnot. At least that's how I connected to that. So, but yeah, it's very touching. It's very touching, and no crying at the end, at least.
So speak for yourself.
Right. I mean, in the book.
Yes.
I think Sam tears up a little bit there.
He cries when he first hears about it. He's like, I thought you were going to stay in the Shire. That's when I teared up too. But they knew, like, and me and Nathan talked about this the other day, like they knew about this ahead of time, so they were kind of, I believe, somewhat emotionally prepared, but it was still like, it was the realization that he's gone forever, like he's not coming back. Yeah. And at that time, Sam didn't know if he was ever going to go himself to the Undying Lands.
But going through this time, kind of with an eye of, all right, it's been a while since I've read it. I really think Sam came through, as we're more older, mature readers. He comes through as the true hero of all this.
Oh, absolutely.
Of the whole series. Mm-hmm. So by the ending here, I think Sam is our main character. We're saying goodbye to Gandalf and Frodo and all the rest. But Sam is the one who gets his happy ever after story. right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's bitter.
He's the
I
one
mean,
that
it's
finishes
bitter.
it.
I think it's more bittersweet, but yeah, it's. But if
He can't go off with Frodo. He's a dad now, and he's got a life to live, and that I think is the best ending that you could give for a guy.
What
like
did
Sam.
you guys think of? Frodo kept telling him this, like he's like I'm broken. Like I think he says you are whole. You need to remain whole, but like I'm broken or something.
Well,
I was curious what you guys thought of that.
Very relatable to the context that Tolkien was writing in, because there were people who came back from war and their adventure, and they were never fixed afterwards.
Yeah.
There's
like Frodo's he's a gentle hobbit. He's rich. He's a hero, but he doesn't go out and try and get married and start a family in the way that Sam does. Like 1420 was a year of marriages, but he's not getting married. He's already kind of checked out. So I mean, that's a bit of a tragedy, you could say. But I think Frodo's end was always going to be something different. But we'll give the happy ending to Sam, who I think is the true hero of all this. So
yeah,
well done.
I agree, and I think Matt pointed out that Tolkien considered Sam to be the hero. I think I consider Sam to be the hero. I think that he is exactly that role in the story.
There's the ending here. I think there's you go to war, you're torn in two. There are so many accounts of people where they just feel like they're two different people, and when they're in their return. And I think that the passing of Frodo to the Undying Lands is a process. This is me inputting my own personal thoughts of perhaps how Tolkien wrote this. I don't know if he wrote it and obviously didn't write as an allegory for this, but it was there's an element of it where you've gone to war, you've done that job, and now you have to pass that away, and that has to go because you have this other part of you that still has this life here. Frodo going away is the passing away of that war element, and Sam remaining is a part of the continuance element of the person. And I think that's kind of just a beautiful thing of saying goodbye to one side of it and being able to move on to the next part.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've reached the end, unless we want to go through the appendixes. Which, to be fair, any amount of coverage of the appendices would be the best adaptation of the appendixes that has happened so far.
If anyone in the audience has not read the appendices, do it. It puts such a wonderful bow on even like on Sam, on Gimli and Legolas, on Arwen, on Aragorn. You get history in there with it too. It is freaking great. That, and then go read the Silmarillion, and then come back and read this book.
Mm-hmm. I have not read the Silmarillion.
It's been a while.
It is
phenomenal.
It is different in the sense
it's hard to read.
Yes.
It's a history book. It's written like a history book. It's not a narrative.
Probably. So kind of like Fire and Blood. I had to bring that series in.
It's
George R. R. Martin,
like a
kiss
myth
my ass.
history. So it's good creation myth in it.
Yeah, basically, think if Houghton Mifflin did the Bible as a history textbook you would study in junior year of high school, except it's Middle Earth.
Yeah, not a lot of dialogue, a lot of description, a lot of history.
Yeah. It's really for those, it's the, do you want to learn more? There's a lot more information about a lot of the kind of, odds and ends of the story. It's not necessary for the understanding of this story, which is why it's in an appendix, right? But it's definitely worth the read. The Silmarillion obviously is a dense but also pretty fantastic read. I feel like each like little sort of story within the Silmarillion really is its own self-contained thing, you know. And there have been way better YouTube channels than ours that have gone through all that.
A lot of people in chat wanting us to do it.
They do. They apparently do want us to go through the Silmarillion. We'll think about it if there's time.
Yeah. At some point, if we come back to it, I'm on.
We'll definitely. I mean, right now, the next thing that we have coming up is obviously, Alex. You said we're 6 weeks out from the release of the Wheel of Crime season 2. We're training our livers. Some of us are. Dane is going to try and go in Raw, which I mean, more power to you, sir.
That's exactly how you tear an ACL the first day of training camp.
That's true. It is true.
The only thing I will say is Dane is so impressive at this that if we're doing the athlete comparison, Dane's like the guy who like walks in and is an all pro and drops like, fundamentals are the crutch of the talentless. And then has a 1,200-yard season. Like, so I believe in him.
That is true.
Does that mean I'm getting drunk or not?
It means I fully believe in your ability to come into this Raw and still outperform all of us.
What we're basically saying is that we're over here. We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice, not the game. Not the game. We're talking about practice.
I can't wait to see you guys do rewatches as an AA exercise.
I mean, obviously, Dane puts his life out there on the line every day for the game. But we over here and we talking about practice.
You guys talk about practice.
I might have to cover it myself. I'm going to be doing book reviews of all these on my channel pretty soon. That's what I'm planning. That's why part of the reason why I bought these.
Can't fucking wait for you to start.
There's no real connection between the books and the TV show, though.
Nope, absolutely none.
He's gonna rename his channel the Nerdporial of Time.
Nice.
That is true.
Yeah, that's Pips's ultimate. That's Pips's ultimate wish of me to turn my channel into a Wheel of Time channel.
Wait. I have a line for this. Give me 1 second here. Where's the line? Come on.
I'm nervous now.
Like a couple more seconds here. But that is not my doing. I merely foretell.
All right. Matt poses, I think, an appropriate question to close this out. What's our favorite moment?
Oh, okay. Let's start with the guest. Let's start with the Nerdporial Lifeform.
That's a good question. I mean, there were points in the story that weren't in the movies that I really enjoyed, that really caught me by surprise. Like the tension in the chapter with when they're sailing on the river, on the Anduin River, and the Nazgul on its winged steed, as the book puts it, was made its appearance for the first time. So that was pretty cool. And there were a lot of really based moments with, especially Aragorn when they first encounter the Rohirrim. Like he's like, I forget how exactly he puts it. He's like, I have no time. I am in need. Who do you serve? Answer me now. Something like that. I thought that was great. And then there was a moment where in the Black, I believe it was the Black Gate chapter in Two Towers, where Smeagol's like, I will, I'll bear this for you. I'll hold this for you. And Frodo just went completely off on him. And I forgot what it was, but it was, he went off on him to the point where Sam was impressed. Sam was like looking at him. He's like, dude, that's fucking awesome. Like, he didn't expect that. I want to see if I can find it, but that was
Mountain Doom.
Yep. What was it?
On the way up on Mount Doom.
Yeah.
What?
what you're talking about, Frodo and Sam and interacting with Gollum on the way up Mount Doom.
I don't think it was no, it wasn't Mount Doom. Mount Doom was when when Smeagol attacks them. It's when they were at the Black Gate. It was at the Black Gate.
There's a couple of them where Frodo calls upon Smeagol to hold to his oath on the One Ring, because that's something the One Ring can do. God damn it, Matt! Shut the fuck up. That was mine.
All right. Well, what was yours? What was yours and Matt's?
At the Council of Elrond, where they're being like, all right, who's going to be the ring bearer? And Bilbo gets up and is like, all right, chumps, say no more. The champ is here. As somebody who's done this before, it's got to be me. And he just kind of like strides up to it, and everybody's like, maybe not this time, buddy. But
it's like watching it. It's like watching the new Indiana Jones.
No.
Jeez.
No.
Oh man.
What?
Oh, all the false equivalents.
Gosh, get out of here. Get out of here. All right. Dane, what was your favorite?
It's the gifts in Lothlorien. I always love that scene, and I'll say that I got a better appreciation for it with discussing it with you guys and clarifying my thoughts. But I mean, it's always a favorite part of a kid kind of reading a fantasy story for the first time is they get their power-ups, they get their magic items, and how they're all kind of tailor-made for the party specifically. And I recall reading it as a 10-year-old being like, oh, so Sam just gets a bunch of dirt? Well, that's lame. Okay, off to the next thing. But now,
worst
reading it a little
Christmas
bit older,
gift ever.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want a coal. I don't want like commodities. Like that seems kind of like. But
it's funny you say that because Merry and Pippin got kind of like here's some gold belts.
Yeah, there's some belts with like some daggers, and they had like the cool clothes. But all that stuff like seemed kind of cool and useful, and stuff like power up your character that you played on like the board game and however you want to look at it. And Sam's gets some dirt. But thinking through what the meaning of it is, the importance of he's the only one that gets a gift kind of that looks to the future for after the quest, the world once you've won the big war. And then it just in this section, how it beautifully comes together and is used to help resuscitate the Shire at the end of the hero's journey. Makes me appreciate it even more. So it's my favorite part is the giving of the gifts, especially like even the 3 locks of hair and all that beautiful stuff. But I think more focused on the dirt gift. I actually really, really like that this time.
So Trip is saying that her favorite part is basically the end of this book, which she said that before. Can't pick a favorite scene. I definitely appreciate how hard that is. Nathan, you got you've got some time here. What do you think?
I was gonna that call out for Trip is obviously a great cop out to take, and I could sit there and do a further cop out and say the very end, I'm back is it, because it always hits home. I can't read that with dry eyes. I can't watch it on the movie with dry eyes. But in terms of the book, the other thing that keeps on popping out is when Gandalf is calling out to Saruman, telling him to get back there, and it's beyond Saruman's power to deny it, and then he tells him his staff is broken.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal.
That is a good one. That's a good pick. That's a good pick.
I found the Frodo speech. Do you mind if if I share it?
Go for it.
All right. So Frodo says, "May the third time prove you best, Smeagol, but I warn you, Smeagol, you are in danger." "Yes, yes, master, dreadful danger. Smeagol's bones shake to think of it, but he doesn't run away. He must help, nice master. I did not mean the danger that we all share. I mean a danger to you yourself alone. You swore a promise by what you call the precious. Remember that. It will hold you to it, but it will seek a way to twist it to your undoing. Already you are being twisted. You revealed yourself to me just now, foolishly. Give it back to Smeagol, you said. Do not say that again. Do not let that thought grow in you. You will never get it back. But the desire of it may betray you to a bitter end. You will never get it back. In the last need, Smeagol, I should put on the precious. And the precious mastered you long ago. If I, wearing it, were to command you, you would obey. And even if it were to leap from a precipice or to cast yourself into the fire, and such would be my command. So have a care, Smeagol. And then it says right here, Sam looked at his master with approval, but also with surprise. That I was like, yeah.
That is a great sort of segment. I like it mainly just, I mean, the foreshadowing for the end, right? Like is so on the nose, right? It's a great section. Great section.
All right, what do you got?
All right. So I will say that I kind of agree with some of you guys saying that it's so hard to pick because there's so much good stuff, right? I will say favorite chapter, and I think I said this, was probably Pelennor Fields. I think that is potentially the best chapter of like fantasy literature ever written. Like it's so phenomenal. I love that chapter. You're basically like, you read that chapter and you're just getting like chills the whole chapter. It's, you know, it's like tantric literature. You know?
Oh, jeez.
So I mean, yeah,
New low for us.
doing some
Thanks,
great
Tips.
stuff. However, I will say that, you know, contrary to all those people who hate on the poetry and the songs and all that stuff, I think it's got to be the poetry and the songs. And I think the one that is probably my favorite is, I love Gimli in Moria doing the chant that he has about Durin and the mines and just talking about Khazad-dûm. Like, man, that is powerful stuff. There's a lot of competition for it. You know, I mean, there's some really great other sections. You know, like the story of the Entwives from Treebeard is really phenomenal. Dane, I think you mentioned Gimli not having a section with the fall of Boromir. I mean, like some of those poetry and verse is just awesome, and I love it.
Eminem level rap slam.
Yeah, but I gotta say my favorite, and I'm upset that it wasn't in the movie, was Gimli talking about the halls of Khazad-dûm.
Yeah, I agree.
So good.
Another one that I really liked was the war cry of the Ents, the last march of the last march of the Ents. To Isengard, though Isengard be ringed and barred with doors of stone, though Isengard be strong and hard as cold as stone and bare as bone, we go to war, to hew the stone and break the door. For bull and bow are burning now, the furnace roars. We go to war, to land of gloom, with tramp of doom, with roll of drum. We come. To Isengard, with doom we come. With doom we come. With doom we come. Look at that.
See, like I said, tantric literature,
right?
Yeah.
Strong, definitive, violent action. Make your characters do that.
And righteous.
Yeah.
Even if they're
I'll leave
trees.
this right here. Matt saying, "Hey, there's a book of this music, The Road Goes Ever On. So go check that out if you are inclined to play some of these songs yourself or anything like that. If you're musically inclined, but I think we're at an end. I think it's time for this fellowship, at least for the moment, to be broken. Any of you guys have some final thoughts? Otherwise, I think we just say thank you to everyone for coming along.
Yeah,
well,
thank you.
Well, thanks for doing this, Pips. It really got me to start reading. Got me to inspired me to keep reading Lord of the Rings, because I'll be honest, Lord of the Rings is not an easy read for me. So, but I'm not as well read as you guys. But it got me to it got me to want to. I still have a few chapters I have to read, so that's beside the point. But I really enjoy doing this. Thanks for including me in the project. It allowed me to create the intro. I thought it was a lot of fun. Use some creative juices, and of course Google helps too, obviously. So, but yeah. So I mean, can I plug myself too? Since
Sure,
I'm talking.
Yeah. Go for it.
So with the few chapters of Lord of the Rings left, the big book I have to read now is and it's over there, so I can't get it. The Shadow Rising. So I want to start that up again, hopefully in 2 weeks. So yeah, so I'll be sending you guys stuff about that. So
awesome, great book. Looking forward to it. Alex, I think you said that you had a video that you were putting out.
Working on it.
There's gonna be hot or crazy.
Yep, working on it. Got all my clips. Just got to do the audio recording.
Oh, that's awesome. And Dane, you postponed the last Book Cloak stream.
Yeah, we had a guy in Korea, and the thing wouldn't work. So hopefully they let him out of North Korea, and then.
When's it rescheduled for? The 24th?
Yeah, every other Monday, because we got one of our panelists who works a week on, week off, so we do every 2 weeks on the Monday night. So, but that's the next part. We're gonna have Trip on for that one. So,
all right,
sweet.
Nathan,
I'm biding my time for these stupid Wings of Ring, or not Rings of Prime, but Wheel of Prime watches. It's gonna be hell.
I've already started girding.
Yeah, it's gonna be a train fire. That's from Palestine, Ohio. But the
for fuck's sake.
It burned down, fell over, and then sank into the swamp.
Right, and then caught fire down there too.
Probably a little more toxic as well.
It's debatable, that's for sure. But yeah, I'm on board for, I think, if he's willing for Nerporial's read along with Shadow Rising. I've been enjoying all these book reads. So outside of that, just catch me occasionally on online with Steve and you guys and Corey and all them. Yeah, it's all good.
All right. Well, Trip asked the question, and this is what I was going to plug as well. Yeah, we're gonna watch the movie here. Probably next Saturday. We'll throw it up on the Discord and hang out, talk the movie in chat with you guys. We'll probably talk off stream, figure out if we want to do a stream related to it or something like that. I think in the past, we've just done it on the Discord and just chatted with people. I think that's a good way to do it. So we'll see what we do with it, but it'll be up on the Band of the Red Hand Discord. We'll share that with everyone, stream it out so you guys can watch it and chat with us and with everyone else who comes out. And yeah, with that, let's see, we got Rings of Prime, or you got me to do it too. Wheel of Prime Season 2 coming out in 6 weeks. I am preparing to go into my bunker in an undisclosed location, as Dane Bornhall has accused me of doing. So we'll see how much of the season I'm able to kind of attend in a live format. But I'm planning on doing some reviews of those episodes when they come out. You can bet the White Cloaks are going to be watching. And we're going to be rewatching because we hate ourselves.
I think you guys just like alcohol.
No, there's a deep self-loathing and masochism.
It's what Alex was saying. It's you get in there, you take action, and you stand in defense.
We hate ourselves, but we hate Wheel of Prime more.
I watched the WNBA 3-point contest yesterday for free booze. So, let's understand where the bar is on this. Actually, wasn't that bad. Sabrina Ionescu went 25 of 27 in the championship round. It was pretty impressive. But That was also after my 7th beer.
The inability to jump makes it more fun to watch.
Okay, guys. Everyone in the chat, Trip, Lady Balefire, Feanor, sorry you couldn't be on with us because of work. Gadfly Fiction, Jacob Ironsides had already leave. Matt, thank you for your insights and for hanging out with us. And there was a bunch of other people. Sorry for not seeing your names. I'm scrolling up here. James was here. Jonathan. Thank you guys for being here, part of this series. It was a lot of fun. I think this is probably my most enjoyable read of this series because getting to talk with you guys about it. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and play us out. We will see you guys next time on the White Cloaks or on whatever your other channel is dumb enough to invite us on as guests. See you guys, and walk in the light.
Stay corporeal.
Going to the harbour beyond the White Towers. Grey Haven. They're leaving Middle Earth, never to return. I don't know why. It makes me sad.